And you are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen,
Greetings to you.
wherever you are, for music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
the station for you is
OTR.
We hope the station for you is OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network. Real radios glowing in the dark. Those classic tube radios, Class D Citizen Band radio from 1958 to 1978, when they did glow in the dark. Reliving the time when they did here on a Saturday evening in Central California, thanks to our tube radio operators and collectors who will be stopping by tonight here on Channel 11 and giving us that sound that we all remember. OTR listening.
135, 135.
All right, I heard 135. Was there another station?
Station.
All right, you caught me doing some technical stuff here. Oh, that looks better. 135, step up into the air chair. We'll be right with you because I think I have an SWL check-in I want to take care of and acknowledge here. So Mr. Green Arrow is on his way to the radio. However, is that the ever-popular 93?
Ever popular 93. Checking in.
Hi, Louie, you're sounding good. And just put your official check-in up on the big board here at Old Tube Radio Network as I do some video adjustments. Never add pictures to radio. It just makes things very difficult. We've got you checked in, and you're sounding good in 93. Thanks.
Check.
All right, back here to OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network. Real radio's glowing in the dark. We have our first one online here at 8:44 Pacific Daylight Time. A little skip land coming in. And I am, just for those who are watching the video, whether it's live tonight, June 2nd, 2018, or some other time. This is the official OTR shirt. There was probably only 10 of these issued to the net controllers back when we had the OTR picnics. I want to say 1988. So this has been in the closet for a while, but there you go. 30-year-old shirt. It also has, maybe I can do this. Cliff, hang on. I gotta do this. How am I going to do this? I got to stay keyed up. No, maybe I can. I was going to show you the back. It's got the OTR logo on it, but that, you know what? I'll throw myself off the air if I do that. So in the meantime, it even has my name on it in case I forget. Each net controller had a shirt with a name on it, so there's probably 8 to 10 of these hanging around somewhere. For the last 30 years, radio number 1 is about to talk to us. Hello, Cliff.
Hello, Dennis.
And it's good to hear you on the radio tonight, but I'm not sure which radio you're on, so we'll head it back over to you.
Oh, should I do that? Yeah, okay. Okay, this is SWL 135 here, checking in my Tram Titan. And I can't remember where these are made. You'll have to, when I stomp off the key here, you'll have to remind me where these came from. I didn't grab my paperwork tonight. It's got 23 crystal controlled transmit channels and a VFO receive, and it's a whole lot of radio.
It is a whole lot of radio. I came very close to picking one of those up not too long ago. I think Bill had one down to the shop, and it just didn't work out. Hey, oh, good. The radio we're showing is actually yours. Trying to see if I can get it all in there with the title and everything. Boy, it's showing up kind of gold. So I'm not sure what's going on here. Yeah, and when I heard you key up, I was thinking, is it a Tram? Is it a Buddy? Is it a General? It really has that strong, full fidelity audio, and now I know why. Back to you.
If you got the picture I put up there of it, you'll see the original microphone there. It's a bass type microphone. Kind of looks like a Turner. No amplification necessary. And that's not the microphone I'm using right now. This is the Pace. Give me a second here. P5538. It's a Pace. P as in Papa 5538. Non-amplified, handheld, white plastic kind of microphone.
Good choice for the audio. Just like I said, it's really loud. It's got good punchy audio. It's got good low fidelity stuff going on. So no problem. Tram Titan. I want to say it's Winnisquam, but I don't see the information I thought I was going to see. Actually, it's showing a mic wiring diagram. We're talking about microphones. Somebody wants to wire up that microphone. Pin 1 is audio, pin 2 is shield, pin 3 is receive, and pin 4 is transmit. Does that not have a relay? Is that electronic switching? I can't believe that, but I don't know. Back to you.
Well, this particular one sure has a relay. Because it goes clang bang when you key it up and hit unkey it. You can hear the relay, and if I took the radio out of the case here, you could see it too. It's this particular one sure is a relay keying, and let's say this thing has never needed a powered microphone. For a while I hooked up a Turner Plus 2 for it, but I had to turn it down so far as to where it wasn't really amplifying anything. This thing has a lot of audio. Let's see. Oh yeah, Winnisquam, New Hampshire. That rings a bell, so that's got to be it. What was the other thing? This uses some sort of really cool roofing filters. Is it who did the filters in these things? Was it Browning? I can't remember now, but it has some really cool filters in it.
Yeah, again, I'm not showing the info I thought I wanted. It might have Collins mechanical filters. That would be the filter of the day. Yeah. Tram Titan. Titan 1 was all steel, all tube chassis, AM only, and I'm thinking that's correct, with great transmit and receive, which you are proving, and a Collins mechanical filter in the front end. So probably if you look down, if you can look in there, you will see the mechanical filters are usually these kind of canister type items, elongated. I don't know how long they'd be, 4 or 5 inches or whatever. It kind of look like a skinny metal tube.
Yeah, that was it. Collins mechanical filters. I couldn't remember who they were for, but yeah, it's really good quality, heavy duty stuff. They used in the ham radios and stuff. So they tried to build a good quality radio.
And they did. They were one of the big 5 players, probably. Always had a top-of-the-line radio that was more expensive than just about anything else. And so did Browning. If you're looking at the video, I apologize because the picture we're showing is of the radio on which Cliff is talking. It's from his Radio Shack. It's one of his collection, his photo collection. He does a great job on the photos. Looks really great at oldtuberadio.net where we are live streaming, but my transfer of it on the YouTube video isn't as good as I hoped. But he's got a great shot of it, and just goes to show you don't have to always have amplification in the audio to make things sound good. The radio will do magic itself. One would always wonder, maybe, what would a Demko modulator on that or whatever? Maybe an audio rack like I'm running. When you get a radio that has the good audio to begin with, you just never know. But it sounds good. I hope you can listen to the replay archives, which we do, and you will be pleased with the sound of your radio. More information about that radio in the Sam's Photo Fax number 13. But I guess the best information is right here on the Old Tube Radio Network when the owner-operator keys down and gives us a sample. Back to you.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out. I want to check out the video, too, and check out that T-shirt you're talking about. Because I don't remember them because I have a failing memory. That was like 30 years ago, and I can't remember what they looked like. So I definitely want to go check out your T-shirt. And I also want to hear what this thing sounded like here with the plastic Pace microphone. I know my picture of it has the original desktop mic, but we had a consensus a number of years ago, and I swapped between the 2 mics, and everybody said this one sounded better.
It really sounds good. When you keyed down, I was trying to figure if it had to be one of the big ones. It had to be a Buddy. It had to be like the Super MC11A or something, but it just has full fidelity audio. Stan, SWL71 or 00, it just commenting also, what a radio. He says back in the day, we got the second one that came to Atlanta. And in his opinion, probably the best AM receiver that he ever heard. So hopefully that radio is making me sound good with that Collins mechanical filter. And he agrees, Cliff, that there is no power mic needed for that thing.
Oh yeah, it's got other cool stuff for the receive too. There is an adjustable limiter instead of just the regular A and L kind of stuff. There is a tone control with bass and treble. And if the big built-in speaker isn't good enough for you, there is an external speaker jack in the back. You can plug in anything you like. And back when I'm out here in the CB Cabana again. But when I've run this thing inside, I've hooked like 12-inch full-range speakers up to this thing, and yeah, it's just brilliant sounding. Oh, and let's see, as far as actual receive goes, as I'm sure lots of tram owners know, yeah, this goes into the green instead of into the red. And you are hitting me at a whopping 60 decibels over S9, according to this meter.
Yeah, it's got one of the big cool meters like the, what was the next one, the TR27E, a meter that you would see on a nice shortwave receiver. Good radio all the way around, and I'm kicking myself now that I did not pick up when I had a chance, the Tram Titan. I did not want the sideband one. That is exactly the radio you got is the one that I wanted. And it had, like you said, the external speaker output. When I'm doing OTR, I need something, if I'm using it as a transmit receive with an easy audio output so I can run the audio stream through the sound card. I thought that one might fit the bill. Radio number one, getting us started off in fine style, Mr. Green Arrow. And we're seeing... If you're at oldtuberadio.net, the picture of the radio in which he's talking. And he mentioned he did swap the microphones out. The Tram Titan, also waving a hand to DD21, SWL83 with the sore throat. I was listening in there, DD, and like I said, you were just working the room tonight on the skip. You can hear, we have some very low-level stuff, but nothing like what you guys were doing. Plus, we need the tram radios like Cliff has got to break things up. Also, Crazy Bob DJ, listening from New Jersey. If you look in the comments section and scroll down, you will see the link to his Facebook site that he takes care of for the antique pre-1977 radios, where if I have time, I always like to grab something off that site and pop it up during the next. There's some good stuff. Anyway, thanks everybody, and thank you, Cliff. We will be the Jingle Singers around here somewhere. We're also looking for radio number 2, but a great way to start off.
Thanks for letting me check it in, Dennis, and hopefully we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, as we hear Skipland in there. Also, I want to say hello to Rob, who is in Zero Land. What does that mean? Well, if you're an amateur radio operator, you would know that he's somewhere around Colorado. Though I think you could be... Where's my map? It's behind me. Don't have to be in Colorado to be a zero, I guess. You can be somewhere else. Actually, you don't need to be anywhere. They've changed the rules. Oh, here's the shirt. This is the shirt if you're looking at the video, Cliff. Nothing fancy. I'm sure these are probably 1985. This was probably from J.C. Penney's or Mervyn's. Mervyn's was fairly new back then. Still, that's why it's held up so well. It's 30 years old. The shirts they have today probably wouldn't hold up at all. It's just faded out where we printed the stuff on there. Let me stop talking, and hopefully we can reel in some radios. OTR listening for Tube Radio number 2.
Number 7.
And number 7. Did I get you on the... See, my memory is failing. I'm trying to find the SWL sheet to see if there's an X. Yeah, there is. All right. Well, there's my memory. But I can tell that you are now on a radio that glows in the dark. Over.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, when you first got me, I was mobile radio, not even home. But now I'm on the Johnson Messenger 223.
That's right. How could I forget? I even made fun of you. I even made fun of your mobile radio. E.F. Johnson, the big players from the 1960s, Tram and E.F. Johnson. Of course, Johnson went back beyond the 1960s, 1950s for their boat anchor radios, not of the Class D 11-meter service. So you know, when they had to scale their big iron down to 5-watt DC input, they would do it correctly. I will grab a picture of an E.F. Johnson. You've got a couple from which to choose. I'm going to pick the one without the modulation light, but as we have heard in past episodes, there's a lot more than meets the eye going on with the radio over there. Over.
Yes, this one has been modified slightly. My Johnson has blue bulbs. That is blue light bulbs in the S-meter and channel indicator lights, which shows up really nicely. It shows in the back of the case even. Looks really good. And buffalo nickels have been put in place of the little metal pieces were in the middle of the 3 knobs that are on the radio. Super simple, 3-knob operation, and the D104 is a Silver Eagle attached. Unfortunately, I do not have the original microphone.
Which, for those radios, is typical to have the original microphone because they came with a really cool, already desk-style microphonium. So unless you really needed some amplification, you were good to go. This wasn't, from E.F. Johnson, this wasn't intended to be a mobile radio. I don't think there's an easy way to set it up mobile with a cord in the back. And at that time, they had the Messenger 2, which could go mobile. And I think they had a 323 and a 123, which were their solid-state mobile radios. But this one, a good player, a good seller, a great all-around radio. A lot of them sold also under the name Sears Roebuck, believe it or not, took this Johnson radio and put their logo on it. So you might have one sitting around. Someone listening might have one that has the SR late 60s Sears logo. It is a Johnson Messenger 223. Give us another transmission on Radio 2.
Yes, this one is definitely the Johnson. It has the J emblem there with the Viking, of course, in the middle of it. No doubt about the Johnson on that one. And with that, I think I heard someone there in the background. Don't know if it was a skip or not. And I'll warm up some more tubes.
Yeah, never know who is out there on the Old Tube Radio Network. 1969, when that first came out, if you're looking at some of your older catalogs that aren't specific to one brand, like a Lafayette. Actually, Lafayette carried other stuff, too. 69, 70, 71, 72, you will see the E.F. Johnson Messenger, probably in the $200 range, maybe $220, $210. Sometimes you could buy it without the mic. Typically, it was sold with the mic. The 223, a Messenger 2, basically, if you're familiar with the blackface, and they added the 23 channels, hence the 223, and the S-meter, and put it in a bigger case, and there you go. Classic stuff from your Old Tube Radio Network. Real Radio's Glowing in the Dark. We are streaming live at oldtuberadio.net. Also the live video at Google YouTube. And speaking of live, at the top of the hour here, 9 o'clock Pacific time, the Jingle Singers tell us their favorite place.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, your favorite spot on the dial by far is known to you as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
And JT, I just noticed you mentioned that we should have perhaps the Jingle Singers or somebody doing the national anthem before each ball game. You know, if there wasn't so many copyright issues and violations going on when you start streaming audio and video, you would probably have to have somebody sing it live. If you played a recording, that part of the video would be flagged because you hadn't paid copyrights to Columbia or Dot Records or whoever had produced the audio. So, and I know nobody wants to hear me sing it. So we'll leave it to your imagination if that is something you'd like to do, perhaps you can hum it as we, along with the jingle singer sometimes. The Old Tube Radio Network, we are looking for radio number 3.
Don't break an arm jerking yourself off.
25.
25. Hello, radio from Madera Heights, beaconing through the E-skip and sounding good here in Midtown Fresno. Go ahead.
Like when Bugs Bunny fucks with the opera singer for 20 minutes.
Brown and Golden Eagle Mark III. Seems to be working, as my ex-German boss would say. The red on the light is on, and hopefully you can hear me. Other than that, not much more to say about it. 23 channel Brent Smith, I think. And boy, you got a VFO, you get a whole bunch more. So anyway, back to you, Dennis.
Sounding good. A good choice for the noisy conditions we have, and I believe FCC approved out of the box. It was indeed 23 crystal-controlled channels. There may have been a way ex post facto to change that. But if you're 23 crystal-controlled, you are looking good with the FCC. And the receiver, a tunable, up to 40 channels, so you could kind of listen in to all the activity that was going on, I guess, before 1976, without the FCC's approval, and then after 1976, as long as you were crystal controlled, it was a good thing. Radio number 3, Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. Let's see if it can break through the noise one more time. Over.
Yeah, not a problem, Dennis. At least we'll try. Anyway, yeah, thanks for checking it in. And I don't know if it's really happy. I'm just going right straight through a 10-meter. Not flat like I normally like it, but it just seems to be working.
Working well. AM. Upper sideband, lower sideband, and here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Radio 3, glowing in the dark. The Mark III series, also another popular radio like the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223, the Mark III, taking over in 1972. After they stopped making the 223s, and that radio had a good run until 1976, when basically anything that was 23 channels became obsolete in the eyes of most CB operators. If you had $700 or around there in the day, you could walk home with a pair, I'll say a pair, but one of those, the transmitter-receiver combination, and you would be in CB radio heaven, as we are right now. Thanks for Radio 3, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. Over.
Thank you, Dennis, and thanks for checking it in. Back to you.
And you'd need a pretty big piggy bank back in the day to get that $700. Hello, Paul. Can you hear me? Over.
Yeah. Hi, Jay. Say hello to you. Anyway, Dennis, check in by Robin. It's going to be a Robin night.
That's a good thing. There are a lot of Robins out there. You might get some people joining you with the Robin radios tonight. We'll see what happens. Radio number 4, and I'm curious to know which Robin you are running. Over.
Okay, this is my name is Matt Foley, and I am a motivational speaker.
Yeah, give me the model number again. Over. What was the model number again?
Okay.
All right, T123, that would be the one with the winking, blinking magic eye, over. I know it is. We have a few of them out there. It's a favorite among Robin collectors, mainly if they're into the Magic Eye radios, which this one is. And doing a good job cutting through the noise, not a problem at all, as I know you are working in the room trying to get those little lights. If you're looking at the video, there's the lights here. And you make those front and back lights, top and bottom lights come together, that gets you up close to the 100% modulation. Give us another transmission on Radio 4 if you can there, Paul, and thanks for bringing it by.
You're having a problem, I'm having a problem. I can't copy at all already. You're actually on a sideband, so I'm going to flip on another radio and see what you sound like.
All right, don't change just yet. I bet that's a lot better, over.
Now you're back again. I hear you now.
Now, let's see if I didn't blow anything up. All right. Just give us another transmission. Make those Magic Eye tubes dance a little bit.
Okay. It's kind of rough. Maybe we'll make it through the evening. I doubt it, though. It's really bad up here where I'm at. Anyway, that's my, it's really a nice little radio. As you know, well-vetted case, metallic green, a real pretty metallic green. It's got a copper chassis. And it each has circuit boards and 11 tubes in the thing, kind of mixed up like the old and the new one. Back to you.
I was looking to see if that mentions that it was one of the Panasonic chassis. I'm not sure that it is. 11 tubes, 2 transistors, and it can go 12-volt DC if you got the right cable for it. The Robin T123, the first of their series. There was a B model, and then there was a 240D when they went 40 channels. But this is a favorite of many of the Robin collectors. Sounds good, and thanks for hanging in there, Paul, on the Old Tube Radio Network.
Yeah, okay, real good. I've got another one. Hopefully it will perform for me. You should be another Robin. I think my 123, the old one, is kind of not going to make it tonight. I don't know. You never know. Anyway, thanks, Derek, for checking them in.
All right, yeah, it's a lot easier to copy this station when it's double sideband with the AM carrier inserted. Thanks for bringing it by. 25, hello, Jerry, over.
Hello, Paul, if you're still haven't unhooked that one. Anyway, everybody's sounding good. Anyway, real quickly, 25 checking in on a Sonar Model G with the old the old stock microphone, big old microphone. And, I don't know what else to tell you. It's 8-channel transmit and just have a spot button. The meter's bouncing around, so I guess it's doing its thing. So anyway, back to you, Dennis.
I bet the meter's bouncing around. Probably the one on the radio, if you have an external watt meter as well. I think you'll be seeing some good things on that. Very nice audio, very loud, very comparable to the Tram Titan audio we were hearing earlier. Just you don't have the same signal that Cliff does, but boy, is it nice and loud and good full fidelity. Got a real good close-up view of the Sonar Model G with the S-meter. Looks like there's a crystal tune knob next to that, and then your 8-channel selector with 4 channels on either the left or the right side. And it appears that the tuner, the receiver is also tunable. That's the tuning part in the bottom. So hopefully I'm somewhere near that number 10.
absolutely right on the number 10. And anyway, one of the options when you bought the Model G is actually getting the speaker inside the radio. You had to order it because most people use this particular radio as a mobile. And so they would just they say, no, I don't want a speaker in the radio. I want the quarter-inch jack on the back of it, and I'll put my speakers where I want to. So it was an option to order the speaker built in. I have another Model G that actually came that way. It does not have a speaker, and you have to use an external speaker. So anyway. Boy, thanks for checking it in, Dennis, and back to you.
Back to me in the studio. One more. So I knock our video off the air here. No, one more question, or maybe it's two more questions, under the guise of one question. As I swap our photo out to the set that SWL 135 has, it's got a great picture. I notice on this one, it appears that there is an illumination or a lighting. There's a little cowl where it says sonar on the top of the radio. It looks like there's some type of light under that or on the other side. I'd be curious to know if you have that on yours, if it's functioning. That looks like a cool feature. And then if I asked you or you told me, I probably wasn't listening about, we talked about the audio, but didn't mention whether it was an amplified microphone or not. I believe the picture we're showing has the original sonar microphone unamplified. Looks like it plugs into the front with a TRS or a quarter-inch phono jack. And if I remember correctly, Crazy Bob mentioned that the microphone looks big in the picture, and it is big, sort of like, what do they call it, a piece of toast? Did you get hungry for a grilled cheese sandwich?
That's exactly right. That's the microphone that I'm talking on, and it's a stock non-powered sonar mic, and it's a big old, like a loaf of bread in my hand. And no, I do not have that light you were referring to. But interestingly enough, the other Model G I have does have a porcelain external crystal jack in the middle of it. I guess you can put your secret frequency in there and talk to your buddies, I guess. I don't know. But I'll have to fire that other one up and maybe answered both of your questions, Dennis. Back to you.
You did indeed. And DD21, all that noise that was in your neck of the woods is filtered down here now, as you can hear. You made it through 100%, as we've got the gray line E-skip happening here tonight. It is kind of a balmy spring evening, but it's bringing out the RF tonight. Radio number 5, Jerry on his Sonar Model G. Again, some great audio out of a stock radio from, well over 40 years ago here on the Old Tube Radio Network. The price, I'm showing about $230. So this was one of the mid-priced radios back at that time. You could pay more, you could pay less, but whoever initially bought that did a great job of keeping it, and we appreciate you bringing it by, Jerry. Thanks for Radio 5.
Thank you, Dennis.
Also want to wave a hand, listening over at the video, Brian, in the Saturday evening, early Sunday morning radio room. The mighty KUH is tuning us in and listening as well. Thanks, Brian. And we are looking for radio number 6 on the Old Tube Radio Network.
number 7. I think these tubes are warmed up.
Doesn't sound off frequency. There is plenty of the audio item of interest, so for Radio 6, a good thing.
Well, if the radio's not a little off, the operator is. Tram, TR27 Echo, the 23-channel transmit and receive.
Another big tram tonight. I think this one is going to be the model prior. Boy, I could be wrong here. Before the Tram Titan series, we had the Tram Titan checking in from Cliff. And if I remember correctly, it has the same or a similar style of S-meter. So I'm thinking the next model after this one here was probably the Tram Titan, and they kept that same, or maybe they had some left over. It kept the same S-meter. Sounding very good. We'll add a photo and go back to you for some audio. Over.
Well, I can definitely testify that this is the largest S-meter on any radio that I've ever owned. Would like to have one of those other trams. But yeah, it's 3 inches tall, about 3.5 inches wide. The speaker on this thing's a nice 5x7. If you're looking at the picture, that gives you an idea just how big that green case is.
It is big. I believe this photo that we have is your radio, or the one on which you are talking. It has, I can point it out here with the cursor. There are two red switches. One that's, I believe, the spot switch under the S-meter is supposed to be there. The other one, next to the tuning dial, probably didn't come from the factory that way, but it has a purpose, no doubt. Back to you.
Yeah, it did have a purpose anyway. Yes, that is not a normal switch. The one under the S-meter is correct. That is the spot switch. The other one was made for channel, if you go to channel 1, that one went down below channel 1, so somebody was using a funny channel.
Ooh, all right. Well, you can do that. I'm not, in 1963 when those radios came out, I'm just wondering how much shenanigans there were with being out of band, if you will. I'm thinking, I remember, and I was on the very late 60s and early 70s, when sideband they started getting the sideband, solid-state sideband radios, and everybody was started to go up above 23 with the VFOs. However, 16 was the sideband channel. I don't remember too much below channel 1. I'm sure there was an activity there, and then, of course, there were the RC channels in between that a lot of people like to hang out as well. So channel 11 is where we hang out, like a lot of good people did back in 1963, whether they were using their handles or their call letters or a mixture of both, depending on whether they thought the FCC was in town or not. There was a good discussion about call letters over on the Antique Facebook site pre-1977. And the early calls, and that's what I wanted to put up. There was a chart. Bob had a chart up that actually showed the call areas for the pre-3-letter, 4-number calls. There was designations with numbers, and then also the three-letter, 4-number calls had areas as well, and it made a lot of sense. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off topic here, but that's what an old radio do to it. It'll make you wax poetic. You are Radio 6, the Tram TR27E. Give us another transmission.
Okay, I got a phone call there, so I'll get back to you with another radio in a few moments.
All right, thank you. What I will do, let me put the studio back here, but if you're at oldtuberadio.net, I'm going to put up from CB Horizons magazine, 1963. This is an ad they ran for the Tram 23 series, the 27E. And as you can see, it's quite technical. They give you a service tip right in the ad about tuning the 31.5 megacycle first conversion receive oscillator. They give you some other technical info about the radio. So they were very proud about having a very nice product. You are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network. We are in Central California. We do this every Saturday, and we've been doing this almost every Saturday for the past 33 or 34 years, hanging out here, trying to relive the good old days. Were there good old days of our 11-meter radios back when they were glowing in the dark? We've got a lot of great collectors and operators who like to share their old radios with us. Very similar to if you go down on Friday nights to the hamburger stand and look at those that have the classic cars, the fins and chrome of the 1950s and 60s. This is the fins and chrome of the 1950s and 60s in the 11-meter world. OTR listening. And hello to Butterbeans. That is hearing some skip from the West Coast. I don't know if you'll hear many of the stations in the Central Valley here tonight. A lot of us not running on the flat side antennas, not running big power, but it's always worth a try. We have a good contingent on 38 lower sideband with some decent-sized stations here that you might check out if you got sideband. But in the meantime, we'll see how we can do with 11 meters on the Channel 11 AM side. Where are the jingle singers? Let's let them tell us about the friendly place that is the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, the friendliest station for you by far is known to all and
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
And we are looking for Radio 7.
Number 7.
Hello, Radio number 7, SWL 7, possibly Radio 7 as well?
That might give you a hint that this is definitely a tube radio. The Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB.
That is indeed a tube radio. And our second Browning Mark III of the evening. A good choice for Radio 7, of course. And you do have a ping that should carry all the way to the mini grass and back, at least that time anyway.
There we go. If you go ahead and put it on the long P here, I'll go ahead and flip that off, as a matter of fact. Put it back to the normal mode of operation, but figured it's old tube night, might as well let it scream.
Absolutely. That is one of the reasons that people liked those radios, because you didn't even have to say to your friends that you just spent $700. All you had to do was key up, and then they wanted to come over and see your new radio.
Yes. The very first time I saw one of these also had a D104 attached. Oh, no, not the golden type like this one. But as kids, we were told we could look but not touch. So now I have one I can touch.
Yeah, we're glad you do to bring it by the net here. I'm trying to think when I saw my first one. There was a Bakersfield Jamboree, and I'm going to say this probably had to be 1972, possibly 73. These radios came out in 1972, and the top prize, one of the prizes and we'll call it a break, but I think they call it a jamboree, was the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III. And I remember I drove up from Southern California. You know, I asked her, Dad, can I borrow the station wagon to go to Bakersfield? And it's like, what? I don't even want to tell you what I had to do to convince him to let me do that. But anyway, I spent my probably couple of dollars to the raffle tickets and went home without the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III. And then a station actually in our city. Where I was, there was like 3 people on the air besides myself, and just one of them happened to get a Browning. And I remember he said, "Oh, come over and see the Browning." And it was might have been the Mark II. That was probably the Mark III, because he had the 180 amplifier with it as well. And I thought at that time, on a high school budget, I couldn't even afford a Turner Plus 2 microphone. So I was like, well, this is as close as I'll ever get to a Browning. But it's kind of fun now hearing them come on the air, because I do remember all that stuff. Radio 7, we'll go back to you for a key up.
We'll do the short ping this time. Yes, and this radio back then was going for more than I paid for my first car. So that definitely tells you something. Of course, then you could pick up a car for $5,650.
Yeah, you could get that 59 T-Bird with the muffler dragging for a couple $100, but if you wanted that Browning radio, you'd have to trade the car, maybe to get it. That's I bet there were some people that did trade cars for radios back then. I don't know if that still happens today or not. Sounding good on the Browning. The ping adjusted. There was a set of capacitors in there that people changed, or you could change either permanently or with the switch like Ed has, so you could dial in your amount of pingitude. But it was a fun radio. Definitely an operator's radio when you look at the knobs and what you have to do to get the thing on the air. It's not for the faint of heart. Thanks for bringing it by. We'll go back to you for a transmission. Always glad to hear the Brownings on the Old Tube Radio Network.
And always glad to get out here and participate when I can. In fact, I have to be leaving here shortly, so with that, we'll let you get back to it, and I hope you have a great night.
So far, so good. It is 9:29. That is the Pacific Daylight Time on my big, 3-inch LED display Micronta Radio Shack clock that's way over on the other side of the shack, letting me know that indeed the Jingle Singers want to come on once again. They can do that.
You're listening in the latest style.
27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio.
In wonderful
Fresno, California.
We're looking for radio number 8. And we've got 2. We've got 25. Jerry, head over to the green room. I do believe there are still some snacks and goodies there that you can partake. And we're going to move Paul. And so things have quieted down a bit here, so we'll see how well we'll do up in North Fork. Paul, you can head up to the air chair with your radio number 8, Hello 45.
Yeah, looks like you're talking to 45 right now. Is that correct?
That is correct. If you can hear me, Paul, over.
Yeah, part of the time, Dennis, it's kind of chore up here. It's interesting trying to get through all this mess. Anyway, I'd like to check in my Robin T240B.
All right, you mentioned you were going to try and make it a Robin evening, and indeed you are. I don't know what happened to my main page, but we will find that so we can get a shot of the 240D. That is the 40-channel chassis from, I believe it was Panasonic, that was shared with many other radios as well, but probably one of the most popular, and certainly for us here at the Old Tube Radio Network, is the one on which you're talking, and that's the Robin 240D. So we'll go back to you, and I'll see if I can grab a picture of that before you sign off here.
Yeah, okay. This is the 40 channel, and you're exactly right. It was made by Panasonic, and the Japanese put it together. It's a real pretty radio. It's a yellow radio. They call this thing a yellow rocker, too. I've heard that called name for it. And Sam's 187, way up in the deal. So it was a later radio. Like I say, it's a hybrid. It's got the digital readout on the thing, so we'll see how long it'll go. But right now, they've done a pretty good job on it. Back to you.
It stands out in the room. Very pretty radio with the yellow knobs and the yellow case. Some people have referred to it as the Yellowbird. One of the cool features on this style, although on some of the other Panasonic chassis of this ilk, I think they have taken out, or they take the range expand, which you have on this radio, and they replace it with some other type of switch. But this one does have the range expand. You can see it right in the foreground of the photo. And I can't remember if we've talked on this one with you on this one recently, but I think you probably have it turned on unless you're running a super amplified microphone. Back to you.
Yeah, I've got the range boost on it, but I'm not going to try to run it with this mic. This mic is a story in itself. It's a Turner Expander 500. It's a big old thing. It's got slide switches on it and everything. I'd like to try changing the slide switch and see if you get quite a difference on the thing.
All right, let's do that. I've got my eye on the S meter as well. You're a bit above the noise. I don't see too much wiggle meter forward movement going on, but you have plenty of audio, so that's not an issue. So we'll go back to you for any testing you might want to do, and of course, it will be archived.
Okay, I'll go with the tone all the way up. Then I'll drop the tone all the way down. Does that make any difference?
Yeah, I could hear the difference in the tone, and sounds like it's what I call the Goldilocks effect. There's too little, too much, and just right. When you go all the way up, that is accentuate the high end. Still sounds good, but it drops out a little bit of the, even when you're not full quieting as you aren't to me, a little bit of the low end sounds good. When you go the other way and drop off the high end, you lose a little bit of intelligibility, a little bit of punch, which I really need for where your signal strength is. So wherever you had it originally, I'm going to say you're very close to being optimal for our conditions. Over.
Okay, thank you. Well, it does work then, I guess. Well, I changed the volume today, and I lost everything on the thing, so I'm kind of scared to change it. But anyway, the tone is working. So if I do lose you, Al, thank you for checking it in. I'm going to try it anyway. This is the volume. I'm going to go all the way up to 10 with the volume. So I'm going to drop the volume all the way down. That's good. Look, maybe I got you. Back to you.
All right, it's doing what it should. When you went up to 10, I was actually seeing a little bit more forward movement on the meter. When you went down, it dropped way out and completely out. And then it came back. So don't go, wait, we might want to make an adjustment. You might be able to put just a tad more audio into that. I think you said you weren't running the range boost. So without getting the audio mushy or over-modulated, key up again, and I'll take a look at everything. You might be able to put just a bit more if you want.
Okay. I'm going to put the range boost off or down. Does that help any?
It still sounds about the same. What I'm looking for, I think, at this point, is to see if you gain any forward movement on the S meter, which would help things out, meaning you're getting closer to 100% modulation, perhaps. And it looks like that's what happens. You don't want to go too much. You're loud enough. You don't want to get that mushy sound, but you want to get enough that you're pushing the radio, up to its max headroom, or maybe just below that, and you should be fine. So I think you are where you want to be on the settings. Over.
Okay. Well, I had everything written down before. I run 8 on the volume and 5 on the tone. So apparently in the meters, in my meters, that should be giving me about the best. This, I don't know whether it's any better than the other ones, but it looks a lot better.
Well, it sounds good, so I'm assuming it must look good. Just did a little zero beat to check the frequency, 84.2. You're not too far off of center frequency. And I do see a little bit of forward movement on the meter that I wasn't seeing before. So I think you've got it dialed in to the max. Don't think it's going to do too much more on the audio for loudness. But you can, if somebody says you're too loud, you can go down. So I think you've got it. Over.
Well, probably might help if I was to back off too. Get about arm's length. That might be a helpful. Does that help?
About the same. I think you were okay before. Again, there's a little bit of noise in with your signal. Sometimes if you back too far off, you change the tone quality because the room you start getting room echo, which I can't really tell. So either way sounds good where you're at. Over.
Okay, well, I'll have fun listening to it on the archives. Thanks, Dennis. I appreciate it. Maybe if I get another warm-up, I'll try it. I don't know. Thanks a million.
All right, and thank you for radio number 8, the Robin T240D. I'm going to have to get one of those fancy switchers and insert maybe the S meter up here in the corner so it looks more like like one of DD21's video gates with the S meter, and then everybody could, when they're watching it back, could see how things are working, and if you add a little bit more audio, if you get that extra forward movement or not. Hello to Nashville, Tennessee, listening in. EDA 396. As always, saying hi in the video. Thanks for tuning in to the Old Tube Radio Network, where we are, as always, listening for the classic radios from the late 1950s, 1960s, and early 1970s that were glowing in the dark at the time and still are here in 2018 OTR looking for Radio 9.
25?
Grand 37.
All right, 25 and 37. Hi, Chris. We'll get right to you. So if you've got a quickie project, you can do that. But don't go too far away, because we'll be right back to it. You'll be radio number 10. Radio number 9 from SWL 25, marking you in at 9:39. And I'm going to guess that you might be somewhere in beautiful downtown Burbank. Over.
No, you guessed wrong. And by the way, I really enjoyed, wanted to kind of stay in the green room. Appreciate the beer and the pretzels and laying back in the recliner and listening to Paul check in that radio. All sounded good and hello, Chris. And boy, it's time to wake up and check in on the Holocrafters CB3A. Over.
Oh, wow, this is a treat. Yeah, thanks for reminding me. You were having such a good time in the green room, I didn't even know you were still there. So thanks for keeping me honest. And thanks for bringing by a Hallicrafters. I have a warm spot in my OTR covered, in my heart covered with the OTR shirt here for Hallicrafters, because one, that was my first shortwave radio. It was my first 11-meter radio in the set of the CB11A walkie-talkies, and my first really good DX AM/FM radio in the FM 1000. So anytime we get a Hallicrafters on, I am all ears for your CB3A. We'll grab a picture and go back to you. Over.
Okay, Dennis. Anyway, again, thanks for the beer and the pretzels in the green room, laying in the recliner. Anyway, yeah, Holocrafter CB3A, I believe D channel. Flashlight's kind of dark out here in the shack, but I think it's, I don't think it is. I think it's like 5 channel. But it does have the optional VFO on the left, and then of course you have your ABC, crystal control transmit in the middle, and then the optional meter, which is Berkey, as my ex-German boss would say. And a pretty simple radio, man. You have three dials, man. You have volume and squelch control, and then crystal control. But anyway, it's a cool radio. Somebody, whoever had this, added an extra pack of tubes. I think I told you that years ago.
this radio has excellent receive. It's incredible. So that's probably what it is. One of these days I'll have to show it to you. Anyway, back to you, Dennis.
Hallicrafters noted for their receivers. They made a lot of receivers in 1940s and 1950s. They made a lot of receivers, so shouldn't have been a problem for them to figure out how to do one. The shot we're showing has the optional, it's the S meter on the right side. I think you said the VFO's on the left side. I was looking to see if I could find a picture of one that has both options. What Jerry's talking about, if you're looking at the video, there is a panel on either, a rectangular panel on either side of the channel selector that you can take out and install these options. This one we're showing from Cliff has the S meter option. The other side would have a receive VFO option. Not sure the prices of those, where you obviously bought them from Hallicrafters, but they would probably plug in, a little jack or plug in the back once you installed them or had the manufacturer install them for you. The audio is good. It is 8 channels. I counted across the front. We've got a great picture. We can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you are probably on some letter designation, which should show up in the big display window that is giving you currently the channel 11. Quick question before we go. We're showing this radio was also used as a mobile set, as a lot of the early ones were, because that's how your 11 meters was supposed to work. Your Class D was kind of base to mobile, or Unit 1 to Unit 2 or whatever. So a lot of the radios needed to be mobile. Do you have somewhere on there the mobile microphone clip? This one is clipped right to the front of the radio. But I wonder if you have a mobile microphone clip somewhere on yours. Over.
No, but there are 2 holes drilled for the clip. That's never been installed. I don't know if this radio has ever been used as a mobile. However, it would have been fantastic in my 67 Oldsmobile 442. And if I still had that car, this is the radio I'd probably put in it. And by the way, Dennis, I'm talking on a non-powered D104, and interestingly enough, it is the 2-pin connection, just similar like the old Brownings. I mean, I could actually hook up the banana mic to this radio, and I don't know how it would sound, but never tried it. But you know, it wouldn't take too long to try it just for the heck of it. But it's the 2-pin connection, but non-powered D104. Back to you.
A good combination. It's got plenty of audio. The D104. For that radio that typically would come with a carbon microphone, it was set up for that. The D104 is giving some nice punchy audio. The Hallicrafters, all the early ones that I've come across, have a penchant for flat topping. If you drive the audio too much, you will hear it just start clipping. Not sure if that's a function of oldness or a function that they put in, with, it's like, well, you get that non-asymmetrical audio, and we'll start pinching off the parts of the scope that make it sound bad. Anyway, it is doing good. Sometimes you have to be careful on those 2-pin microphones to make sure it's wired the way you want it, so you don't get, the 65 volts B+ going across the wrong item. Regardless, it's sounding good. And if you've got 2 holes where they're just above the red H on the front, I think that is where the microphone clip mounts. So if you see them there, that's the mounting spot. So yeah, if you wanted to try a microphone, you could go ahead. If not, it is sounding good, and it is our Radio 9 tonight.
No, that's okay. It won't take too much time. Chris is standing by in the green room. And Chris, I hope you're enjoying the Pure and the Impressive. Anyway, back to you, Dennis.
All right, back to me in the studio. Thanks, Jerry, for our one and only Hallicrafters of the evening, but sounding good. And you fooled me, thinking it was that General Radio Telephone MC5. The Old Tube Radio Network, streaming live at oldtuberadio.net. Hello to those tuning in, listening, watching at Google, YouTube. And we have Radio 10. Hello, Chris.
And hello, Dennis. And Jerry, good evening time to you too. And you know what? I got that same radio sitting over there, which I'll do next. But I had something else, just like you, a '67 Oldsmobile 442.
642 convertible, 4-speed, positive traction force. The whole works, but it had the aftermarket AC put right down in front of the stick shift. So, but yes, I had one of those and loved it for many, many years, and it was fast. But anyway, good evening, Dennis. I would like to check in first of all.
You know, I was just looking at page 3 because I was thinking, I don't remember if you checked in, and we're doing that now, so make SWL 37 official on the big page. And then you are putting us officially into double-digit radios for the evening. And I can tell, just by the way this radio sounds, where I should be going in the alphabet to find the picture. Back to you.
That's right. I'm not going to say helicopters. It's not helicopters. I'm going to check in my general radio telephone, the Super MC11A, 24-channel version of this here with the handheld stock microphone. And I would have been in here sooner, but we just got home. My great niece just graduated from college and high school at the same time, believe it or not. Actually graduated from college last week, and she's graduating from high school next week, but my brother's in town from Idaho, which is his granddaughter. So, needless to say, that's where I've been out in Kingsburg at a winery. And yes, I did have one beer, Jerry. I did too. I had one pretzel, but I was eating a little goldfish and whatnot, and a lot of Mexican food. But anyway, I do want to check this radio here in there. Yeah, it's still transmitting. Over.
Sounding good. Go to the winery and have a beer, have some pretzels. Sounds like a good thing. Kingsburg, a town south of where most of us are here, maybe, 15, 20 miles, and noted for its Swedish village. I'm not sure the history of Kingsburg, but it has lots of little windmill things, especially in the center of town, where they try to get everybody to go to the windmill things. You wander out, and it probably looks like in any town, USA. Audio sounding great, as it always does, on the general radio telephone Super MC11A. And congratulations on all those graduating people. That's been happening a lot these days in May and June. Those things happen. Glad you could sneak into the radio room and give us a transmission. Back to you.
Okay, yeah, we just got home, and I come here and turned it on and waited for it to warm up, and I had to wait for Jerry to quit.
Did you sign out, or did the radio go away?
No, it was. I need to fix my channel selector. It's kind of dirty, and it goes out once in a while, so I have to just move a tiny bit, and it works.
Yeah, there's a little persuasion. Just like a lot of us that are, what is this radio, 1972? A lot of us might have been born in 1970s. we need to move around a little bit so that all our parts work. Sounding very nice. And was I going to make a comment? I probably was, but I don't remember if it pertained to the general radio telephone or some audio or something else. So we've got you checked in both on the SWL page, and you've made it into the radio page, so you're looking good.
All right, I'll be back in just a few minutes. It's got to warm up, and I will return. Get one more in anyway.
All right, go TR.
All right, breaker acknowledge. And for those who are listening, because most of you are listening, and cannot see the S-meter, because I'm basically the only one who can, that audio is not a 40 over signal. He is about S5... 5 dB over S9. No, let's do this again. 5 dB over S9 modulates up to about 10 dB over S9. So that's the power of some nice general radio telephone audio, courtesy of the ECLL 800 tube in there. And there is a breaking station. It sounded kind of like SWL 40.
Yes, it does. Sounds exactly like SWL 40. Checking in a old tube radio, and oh boy, I'm listening to myself on the crossband. Interesting.
Sounds pretty good. If you're listening to it, you should like what you hear, unless you've got little dinky speaker or something. You have your full fidelity. We do how we get the audio, for those that might be interested, into the the stream here is direct output, a direct feed from an AF output from the radio, from the receive radio into the sound card and right out. I really don't do any processing. There may be just a bit of peak limiting to keep it from putting any extra distortion, but very little. And we might have some high pass and low pass roll off above 10K and below 80 hertz to keep any generated hum from mic equipment out of things. But what you hear is basically what you get. So if you're listening to your audio back on the archives, it's pretty much how it's going to sound in a typical radio. And we strive to do that because a lot of people, one reason we do this with the audio archives is so people can hear how the radio sounds. And if they want to do testing or microphone changes or anything like that, they'll get a very good, a very accurate replay of what it is they're doing. And Larry, what is it that you're doing? Over.
Well, I'm just keying up this radio here, and then listening to my. Oh yeah, let's see here. Oh yeah, it does sound pretty good here, and wow, yeah. and the highs sound really good on my Infinity speakers with the Samarium Cobalt tweeters, and then the Polydome mid-range.
Wow, that might even make me sound good.
In fact, if I were to take the tweeters out of my speakers and just sell them on eBay, they sell for $200 for a pair. So, yeah. But anyways, yes, I'm on an old tube radio, and this radio is a Gemtronics GTX 5000 40-channel CB transceiver.
And breaker acknowledged here on the old tube radio network. A good choice. We were talking earlier with Paul. He was on the Robin T240D, and we mentioned that chassis was shared with many radios, and I believe this is one of them. We also talked about the fact that some of them had a switch under the S meter that would be a range boost or range expand, and some of them did not, and this is in the did not version because I think yours has something to do with the meter function, and it doesn't appear that there is any type of a range boost or range expand on that, but it is the Panasonic chassis, which is why it sounds so good. It may even be plate modulated as well. The Gemtronics GTX 5000. We've got a picture, and you've got the audio to match. Back to you.
Well, fantastic, and the audio is good because of the microphone is the Turner Expander 500 microphone. So that's why the audio is sounding so good. Back to you.
Now, is that the one Paul had something? It was a 500, 5000. Does that have a tone control and a volume control?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does have a tone control. I can turn up the tone like that, and then I can turn the tone control down like that.
All right, I can hear your replay. There's something amiss on the high end. It works well, and then it hits a real bad spot on the potentiometer there and kind of drops the level and drops out, but works good on the low side. Where you had it, of course, was perfect. I always feel bad when I mention something and someone goes and starts fooling with the radio and things go amiss. What do they say? If it ain't broke, don't touch it, or don't fix it if it ain't broke. Or what's the? Who was it on Hee Haw? He used to say, "Doctor, I broke my arm in 8 different places," and the doctor says, "Well, stay out of them places." So maybe things are just better left alone when they're working. Radio 11, Gemtronics GTX 5000. The last of the tube radios, 40-channel versions, I believe. Browning also had a 40-channel, back in the Mark IV, which was different, but this pretty much was the last hurrah for tube radios in 1977 and 1978. There was a breaking station which we will get to if it wasn't skipping. It has gone away. But we'll go back to you for another transmission, Larry. Thanks for jumping into the radio room up there on the 42nd floor up in Chinatown and giving us a holler.
Well, wherever you're at, you sound real good.
Okay. Well, very good. All right. It's getting busy out there, so I'll sign clear here, and I'll be listening. This is SWL 40 signing out.
All right. Thanks, Larry. And I didn't look at the time here. 10 o'clock, almost 10 o'clock in Central California, where this is the Old Tube Radio Network. This is an event, I guess, if you will, that takes place every Saturday on this frequency, beginning at 8 p.m. Pacific time, lasting for a couple of hours, where we encourage stations that have or collect the vintage tube radios to get on the air with us and share their knowledge, the radio sounds, whatever they're doing with our shortwave listeners. And the Old Tube Radio Network also streaming live. If you've got internet connection, you can hear us at oldtuberadio.net right now, and doing the video version at Google YouTube at the Old Tube Radio Network Live for June 2nd, 2018. So hopefully you are enjoying what you're hearing here from Central California this evening. We are looking for Radio 12. The Jingle Singers are saying they have a little ditty for us, and we'll be doing some counting and mounting soon on the Old Tube Radio Network.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic
Old Tube Radio.
for you.
Looking for Radio 12.
Accept. 45.
All right, we've got a group here. We've got 37. You will be next, Chris. We've got 45. We'll take you, Paul. So Chris is Radio 12. Paul is Radio 13. And who was the other breaking station?
Why do I always come last?
All right, and 47 for Radio 14. And there may be more. The reason we're here is to check in as many tube radios as possible. We will endeavor to do that. Radio 12, heading over to Christopher back in the radio room. Hello, Radio.
And hello, Dennis. This is me once again back on the air. This time, Dennis, I want to check in my Citizens Little Phone, the Helicrafters Model CB3A, 8-channel transceiver, and I am on channel E, which is, number 5? Yeah, number 5 on here, channel E, which is channel 11. And this thing here, we're running this thing here also with the original handheld carbon microphone. Over.
A good comparison to Jerry, who was running the D104, non-amplified, which had good audio. The carbon microphone actually has good audio as well. I'm not knocking that. But it does have that sound, that stock audio carbon microphone sound, which is good. It's like having the original hubcaps on the 1965 Falcon at the award ceremony. You might get extra points for that. If you're at oldtuberadio.net, we're going to show an ad from Popular Mechanics, July 1963. This radio came out in 1963. Popular seller for Helicrafters. Most of the Helicrafters radios that we get checking in seem to be the CB3A, but they made a lot more than that. But very, very popular at $160. That could be why. Radio 12, give us another transmission. I love the Helicrafters.
Okay, yeah, you're talking about the hubcaps and everything. Like the old 63 Impala Super Sport with the chrome reversed wheels with the baby moons, flat baby moons. Always looks so good on those cars. Anyway, I didn't own one, but my brother did. But anywho, this here is my my Helicrafters 3A, and it is working. I'm happy about that.
It's working well. And we're checking it in as Radio 12. So put the post-it on that one that it has been marked in and checked in for June 2018, all the way from don't know, maybe June 1963 when it was new out of the box. Thanks for that. I'll go back to you for another transmission, but we've got the, it's like a runway, airport runway here. We got the radio stacking up, so I have to keep everything going so they're not having to circle the radio program here. So give us another transmission before you go away.
Yeah, we don't want them to run out of fuel up there, getting around, Got to keep those gas tubes going. So we got to make sure they land before they run out. So, all right, Dennis, thank you, and I'll be out and listening now, so thank you.
All right, thank you. Also waving a hand, I think over on the video side, the mighty Juliet Whiskey. John is listening in, viewing, and enjoying the radios, I'm sure. And then up in the Pacific Northwest, the mighty Timtron, who, like a lot of us here on the West Coast, experiencing the E-skip tonight. I'm not sure where stations are coming, and they don't stay long. Whenever we hear somebody, they're not in there that long to find out who and what is happening. But across the U.S. this evening, as the sun has gone through the gray line, a lot of stations, a lot of skip, listening to the old radio night, doing the same thing. DD21 had his hands full tonight. I've been a little bit luckier. I haven't had to hand out any QSL cards tonight. SWL 45, Paul, hopefully the band is quiet enough, channel is quiet enough that you can be Radio 13. Hello, Paul.
Yeah, okay. Well, I hope so, too. This is my last of my Robins. That's the T.
Dennis, you sound fantastic in Southwest New Mexico.
20.
And 20 will add you to the list. He'll be after 47. And thanks for the Southwest New Mexico. This is the Old Tube Radio Network. We are streaming live right now at oldtuberadio.net. And Paul, if you would please give me the model number of the Robin that you're transmitting on. Over.
Okay, it's the T-123B.
All right. I could have assumed that, because Paul does a very good job when he says he's going to check in a series of radios, which he mentioned that he would be checking in the Robins tonight. That is the only one that I hadn't checked in the 123 series. So 123B will pop up a picture here of the green machine, the 240D being the yellow radio, the 123 being the green machine, and we'll get it up on the video as well. And we'll go back to you, Paul, for a transmission. Out of the three, I guess I'll ask you a question here. We'll keep it quick, and you may not have an answer, but that's okay. Out of the three Robins, the 123, the 123 Bravo, which you are on now, and the 240D, do you have a favorite? Is it mix and match, like you like the transmit on one and the receive on the other? I'm just curious if you have a preference or a favorite. Over. Yeah, I'm just curious, out of the three Robins that you've checked in tonight, and I know you don't use them a lot, so this question may not be that valid, but out of the 123, the 123B, and the 240D, do you have a favorite of the Robins? Over.
You got to be kidding. I'm sure you know which one it is. It's the one with the magic eye on the thing. It's the most fun. These other radios have more knobs, they have lights on them. And when you get to that plane, Robin 123, that's definitely my favorite.
All right, well, that's a good answer to the question, because our next station also feels that way, and I think he has quite a few in his collection that include the Magic Eye tubes, and we'll be talking to him about that in just a moment. Radio number 13, the Old Tube Radio Network, the Robin T123B. I can tell you that was one of the Japanese imports made from 1972 to 1976. Of course, in 1976, the only reason they stopped doing it is they had to figure out how to get 40 channels, and in comes the 240D for that. 11 tubes, doing a good job as always. 2 transistors thrown in for a good measure. It could go 12-volt DC as well. One more transmission, Paul. Thanks for bringing by the radios tonight, and we always appreciate your extra efforts. The Old Tube Radio Network, Radio 14, stepping into the air chair. Hello, Mike, SWL 47.
Hey, greetings again from the Radio Lounge. I could not agree more with Paul there. Well, I guess, of course, to talk about this thing. Maybe I should tell you what I'm talking about. You haven't figured out already. Yes, indeed, it's a Robin Reed 123. No Bravo. It's the green machine. It's not the Yellowbird or whatever the pink marquee. It's the green machine with the match type tube. This was my first tube radio, and the match type tube. That's what drew me to it. I still remember hearing that term. Thinking, what the hell? What are these guys talking about? I think I went on eBay and saw a few, and I probably went on YouTube too. Check them out, but fun radio to use, and I do got to say, I have quite a few as well. I have more than just one or two radios in my collection here. This one is my favorite for sure.
Sounding good. Keep into that microphone a little bit. We get a little bit of heterodyne from the stations floating in from afar. T123. It also has 11 tubes and 2 transistors. I wonder how much similar it is to the B inside. I'm not quite sure. Also, we'll do 12-volt DC. We have had, I think, a couple of... It's either that or the B, check-in mobile, believe it or not, and there is more information. CB Photofax, Sam's Photofax 35, number 35, book 35, I should say, page 95. The Robin's looking good so far tonight. When we count an amount, will they be able to be the most heard manufacturer? It's hard to say. Give us another transmission, Mike, and then we've got Harvey is up in the green room getting ready for the air chair. But in the meantime, always a pleasure when the radios from your collection make it on the air worldwide at oldtuberadio.net. Back to you.
Oh, yeah, thank you. And not to get too far off the topic, I'm 14 right now, is that right?
Radio 14, over.
Okay. Harvey, I'm not going to be able to help you out if you want your normal spot there in the lineup. But, Dennis, you're absolutely right. I think one of the things that really makes this my favorite radio is the fact that I have taken this on the road. I love anytime I go camping, I try and throw it in there. I do have a DC power cord rigged up for it, so it's kind of fun, especially when I take my pop top, just to go hook it up to the extra coach battery I have in there. And spare boxes work really good if you want to use a mag mount antenna. I haven't experimented with throwing one up in the tree, but guess what? I'm on vacation pretty soon, so I think that's going to be one of my projects for this summer.
That's a good... Anything that involves radios and antennas and doing stuff like that can't be a bad project in any way, whether it's for 11 meters or getting on the amateur bands or maybe just SWLing. So we'll look forward to that. And we often have a few summertime mobile radio check-ins, and it's always good to show people that all those ads they see with the radio sitting in a car, that people actually did that, and they actually do work. Thanks, Mike, for Radio 14, the Robin T123. Let me see if Harvey is from the West Side. I think we just call him Harvey now, but I remember back in the day it was always Harvey from the West Side. Harvey from the West Side are you copying the Old Tube Radio Network here tonight, 20, over?
Oh, yes, I am. And it's hot. It's Africa hot. That's how hot it is. Anyway, this is for Paul. This is his Pierre Simpson CBD5. And the CBD stands for can be difficult. Anyway, a little high on frequency, but that's life in a big city. Anyway, this is the CBD5. Pierre Simpson, it's got, let me see here, 3, 5, 6, 7 tubes. One transistor on the back somewhere, I think. And a couple of diodes, etc. And it's working. Got the carbon amplified hand mic, which I find to be a little interesting there. Okay, the CBD5 by Pierce Simpson.
Sounding really good. Assuming we might have a little bit of Harvey range boost going on, but that's okay because we want to showcase the radios, and Paul is listening, so I'm going to assume that he can hear you well. I've got a photo, I believe. It says it's the Pierce Simpson CDB5 from the collection of Paul SWL45. Might actually be the radio on which you were talking. I don't know how many he has. One thing, Pierce Simpson always impresses me with their designers. This is a little different, but like the Guardian 23, and some of their earlier ones, they just had a little bit of pizzazz to them. It wasn't just your typical radio in the box that goes in the shop. They try to put some colors or designs or something, or ergonomically placing the knobs. As Pierce Simpson was good for that, pretty good. Nice audio. It's looking good on the meter and sounding good all the way around. We are showing the microphonium that is plugged directly into the set, so I don't know if you've modified that or not to get the nice audio out of that.
No. That's the normal microphone. It also has a transmit power light that's connected off the output line. It goes on when you key up and modulates, it pulsates when you talk, and it's adjustable. Now, right now, with the range boost, it's not working. But when I take the range boost off, I have it set so it just barely goes on, and it gets brighter when you talk, because it actually draws power from the line.
Right, I think, was it the Johnson Viking, the Messenger one, had two pilot lights, and I remember the other one kind of blinking, one of those jewel lights blinking in the same way, so maybe that was an early indicator that was easy to do. Just like, you've got power, and when you talk, you've got a little bit more power, the way it should be. And these radios showing the Pierce Simpson CDB5, probably one of their first ones, 1959 to 1961. Of course, the Class D opened up in late 1958, so this is off their production line. Original price, it's showing about $180 in 1961. That was actually higher than I thought it would be. 5-channel crystal control transmit and receive, universal transistorized, 117 and 12-volt power supply, 11-tube performance, super het, 1 RF and 2 455 KCIF stages, series noise limiter, adjustable squelch, carbon mic, link and Pi network output pilot bulb, which we just talked about, output indicator, and a TV eye trap. So if your neighbor is getting rid of cable and putting up that classic Yagi antenna, fear not if you've got the Pierce Simpson CDB5, because it's got the TV eye trap. You are Radio 15, Harvey. Paul, I hope you are enjoying what sounds like a great radio to put back into your collection so we can hear it from North Fork, but we'll go back to Paul for another transmission. Thank you, sir.
Okay. All righty. I will let it go. I've got one more to do, and then I'll be done because I'm starting to melt.
Yeah, where we're down. I went back up to 85. It was 84. So I think it's all, one, it's my hot air, and then all the audio stuff and the radios as well, keeping the temperature up where it should be. It is almost time. We're counting and mounting. The Jingle Singers, of course, having a great time over in the other studio.
Let's do some spelling.
OTR. 27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio. Old Tube Radio.
Looking for Radio 16 if it's there.
I'll take that one too.
That is a good thing. 47. Mike in the radio patio, radio lounge somewhere where there's coax, coiled cord, microphonium, and a glow-in-the-dark thing. Radio 16. Go ahead, sir.
20 after.
You're 17.
Man, that was like really loud, Harvey. That sounds great. Well, there have been several Robins tonight, so I thought I'd throw in another one and see if we could make it like a landslide with Robin radios. I wasn't going to do this, but then I realized, wait a minute, I don't have to wait to warm this guy up because it's got the instant on feature. So for your listening pleasure, I got my Robin T123B Bravo, thankfully with the instant on feature.
Yeah, there's something that keeps the filaments or the heaters on when you're receiving, so you can kick in the transmit, or something like that. Don't remember exactly. T123B. This is a good radio for your voice. Full fidelity. I'm not going to have to ask you to do anything like get closer, talk louder. You know that pesky net controller is not going to ask you to do that because the Robin T123 Bravo is helping you out there. I know it has the range expand on it, but maybe that's not necessary as well. Anyway, give us a transmission and we'll go over the particulars here. But that could be a very strategically placed radio for number 16. Back to you.
Well, maybe two things I want to comment on. First of all, I accidentally discovered a feature. I don't know if it's supposed to work out that way or not, but I think I accidentally discovered something on my other Robin, the 123. I never realized that on the squelch knob, if you, let's see, where is that sucker? If you turn the squelch knob on the 123, if you turn that all the way counterclockwise, it actually snaps off. All the lights will remain illuminated on the radio, and it looks like all the tubes are going, but it definitely turns off the receive. So I don't know if you want to comment on that, if it's like some sort of an early stage of what I guess they call the instant on feature. This thing, the instant on feature on this particular guy is essentially on the volume and power knob. If it's turned all the way off, nothing lit on the front of the radio at all. There's definitely juice going through the radio because some of the tubes are glowing, and your PG&E bill is rolling and rolling too, and getting more expensive. But I don't know if you want to comment on the difference between those two things. I don't know if you know much about that, but it's kind of interesting. After owning that 123 for so long, it was kind of exciting to accidentally discover something new about it.
Well, I think for some of us who have the classic amateur shortwave tube receivers, whether you used to have a standby switch or a transmit and receive, it's a very similar thing that allows you to keep the heaters, the filament voltage in the tubes warm, going, so you're not changing your capacity to stay on frequency or to listen on frequency. But the flip of the switch gives you the power to get everything going. So I believe that's probably what it is. It's one of those well-worn trickery things that back in the 40s and 50s they figured out that's what you should do to your receivers and such to keep things nice and warm and toasty in the tube world, and it won't drift around on you. So it's an interesting and unusual feature to have in an 11-meter radio, but as you notice, it's pretty cool and sort of hidden. The squelch knob always seems to be dual duty, I've noticed. You can pull it out, push it in, turn it around. It seems like that they have to add something. It's always, you know what? Let's put it on the squelch knob. Nobody uses the squelch knob, do they? Actually, they do, especially when you give it multi-functions. Radio 16, the Robin T123B. Hope you'll listen to the archive because that is your radio. That's the one. It's like the good suit. I have a couple of suits, and one of them is like, oh, that's okay. It looks good. And the other one is like, it's a little big, and I put on the weight. That looks good. And then you have that one suit that is just perfect. That is your perfect suit, I think.
That's really disturbing that you say that. I've been looking at the Brooks Brothers suits on eBay. Kind of funny that you'd add that in there. Well, I don't know what to say about it sounding so good. I wish I wish maybe my other Robin made me sound just as good too. I think I'm kind of, I've woken up a little bit, and I don't know, maybe I'm just talking louder, but anyways, I think that the only other thing I want to say about this guy is way back in the early 1980s, I saw, this is going to sound really geeky, I saw something really cool on Star Trek, some sort of a display screen. I'm not going to go into any detail on it, but I went to Radio Shack because I was trying to reconstruct this thing. So I made my mom buy me a bunch of little just lamps. You know, they used to have these little pull-out drawers of lamps that you could buy. So I went in there and got a bunch of those things and just made a horrible attempt at recreating something from Star Trek. But I think this particular radio, every time you transmit, every time you receive, if you punch the external speaker button, even the modulation lamp or PA lamp, I think these lamps are all manufactured, or they had to be manufactured by the same company. And I think Radio Shack wound up selling the same thing, because I swear these lamps all over the front of this radio look exactly like those things I got in Radio Shack in, God, 82, 83, something like that. But that's kind of cool. It always puts a smile on my face. Not as much as the Match Guy 2, but it still brings back old fond memories of trying to build Star Trek stuff.
Yeah, fun stuff. Well, that's when you have no fear, because you don't know that you can't fail. So you can get in there and put those capacitors in, and you don't realize that, oh, it's an electrolytic capacitor and it's backwards, and you get the pow, or you do something like that with the lights, whatever. Fun stuff. That is why we are here, right? Because we remember the good times, and that's what we're trying to do tonight, is relive some of that, have some fun, and your other Robin sounds just fine. This one has a little bit more volume, so it's easier on the ears here at Net Control, but every radio you've had tonight sounds good. Let's continue on to Radio 17. It's 24 after here. The channel has quieted down. That doesn't mean there's not another E-skip cycle coming through, but I expect more of it this summer as we head into cycle 25, get a few more sunspots, the temperature goes up, you just never know. So stations out there listening at oldtuberadio.net, keep your ears on, as we say. Still out with us in the wee late hours of Saturday, early Sunday morning. Hello, of course, to California, Fish Camp Fresno, in Illinois, Freeport. Crazy Bob and the gang still hanging in New Jersey. Stations from New York listening in, of course. Maryland, Kansas, Georgia, Virginia, South Carolina, Utah. Hello, Ray. X4000. Forgot to check in. X4000. Hello, sir. Los Angeles. Hello to LA. 90009. I want the old 9 zip code out there. And St. Charles. Harvey, are you ready for Radio 17? Hello, 20.
Yeah, number 20 here. On the Browning Golden Beagle, R68 T68 by Browning Laboratories back east there. I wanted to say Browning Laboratories coming from Flushing, New York, but can't quite say that. But it is somewhere on the East Coast there, with the Browning medallion on the back of the D104. The standby switch cuts off the high voltage to the tubes in the in those radios there, the Robin and T123B and similar radios. I'm not sure if it cuts it off to the transmit part. Yes, it does. It cuts it off to the transmit tubes also. But basically, that's what it does. Keeps the filaments going, cuts off the high voltage to the tubes there. So everything is like basically dead except the filaments and the pilot lights, etc. Now that is an old way of doing things. That's what Browning does to the receiver. It cuts off the voltage to the high voltage to the tubes in the receiver while keeping the filaments on. That's why when you apply the voltage back, when you unkey, everything's right there. So, because the tubes are all warm. Anyway, that's what it basically does, and I've defeated that deal with some of my radios because basically when you plug in the radio, it's automatically heating up the tubes, and I didn't like that. Back in, I guess, the 70s, when electricity didn't cost that much, I guess they thought that was a good deal. Okay, that's it for this radio. The Golden Beagle coming to you direct from a hot radio room.
And tubes don't care. Tubes do not care if it's hot. Transistors do. Back in the early video days when you had tubes in a lot of the equipment and they had the little trucks that would go out and do portable ball games and videos, it was just excruciatingly, painfully hot. But you know what? The equipment didn't mind. A lot of it was tubes. It didn't care. When you started getting the solid state stuff in your little heat sinks, and then it gets 90, it's 100, it's whatever, that's bad. That's bad for the solid state stuff, but tubes love it when it's hot. Thanks for that. That's a great explanation. I hope you're listening, Mike. That is the way I was hoping that I would explain that to you, but I did not. So I'm assuming what we're talking about is, Harvey, is the 12 volt and the 6 volt or whatever tubes require filament voltage trickling in there, but anything in the big I will kill you if you touch me range is squelched. Sort of like a cruise control, right? That's like putting your radio on cruise control. Except you can't put on the brakes. It's always on there. I didn't realize when you plug that in, it was always like that. Interesting. Radio 17, of course, the Browning Golden Eagle. Or should I say the Beagle R68, T68. As always, it sounds a good, Harvey, and we appreciate your expertise and the knowledgeable items of interest. So we'll go back to you for another transmission, then I'll ask, and the Jingle Singers have one more item to do. I'm counting and amounting. And Harvey is usually a spoiler. He's usually a spoiler with that Browning radio. We'll see how things are tonight. Anyway, Harvey, if you got any more comments, we'll take them now, and then I think we're going to put the wraps on this one tonight.
Well, no other comments other than it's hot. It's fucking hot.
It is hot, but like Neil said, and reminding us, and he's a Central Valley guy too. He knows when it's 90 degrees here, the humidity could be well below 20%. In other places, when it's 90 degrees, the humidity could be wherever the temperature is at 90. It can make things a bit different. So it's hot, but that's all it is. Any other stations are wanting to check in, comment, or whatever? Before we go away tonight. Studio B, the Jingle Singers, Mr. Announcer.
You're tuned to
OTR. Channel 11.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us
Old Tube Radio.
and be modern.
Counting and amounting, and I just noticed the tagline at the top of the big page says SWL roll call. I guess officially it would be. We took a couple of SWL check-ins, but it is Tube Radio time. Back in just a moment with the totals.
Doesn't do much anything. You turn it, and that's good. But on the 123B Bravo, this sucker pulls out. I don't know what it does, but it pulls out. I think you just gave him some homework. I'm going to have to fiddle around with it and see what it does. And, hey, maybe that'll give me something to talk about next week.
All right, typically a pull-out knob is an A&L type of thing. Harvey, are you listening? Are you privy? Is that privy? On the squelch knob on the 123 Bravo, would that be a noise blanker thing?
Hey, Mike, what's it say on the radio right below the knob?
All right, you're making me get out of my chair. And God, I gotta just lay down on the floor. Oh, hey, guess what? It says something. this? Pull A. Ooh, Harvey's good. Harvey, you're not even looking at this radio, and you already know exactly what it says. Hey, problem solved. Pull is the tone, and that's funny because I was going to say I don't like the tone on this radio as much as the other one. So someone's going to key up here, and I'm going to play with the knob.
Okay, here's what you do. Okay, it's a squelch knob, but when you pull the tone knob, you adjust it, okay? Push it back in and it stays that way, and you turn it back and that way your squelch is off, okay?
Yeah, it's not doing much of anything. Is this supposed to mess around with the receive tone or the transmit tone?
Receive tone. Okay, if it's totally counterclockwise, then your squelch should be off, and then your tone is either set low or high, I'm not sure. You have to kind of get, I think you can push it, or pull it, whatever, and then you can set the tone where you want it while you're listening, but then you have to push it in and turn it back, I think, for your squelch to be off. I mean, what's the point of having the tone low if the squelch is up? You can't hear anybody. I think that's how it works.
I think that's completely logical. For the record, the tone really doesn't change that much. If you pull it out and you have it turned counterclockwise all the way, that probably makes the tone a little bit on the bright side. That would probably be at the little dot on the knob. Let's see here. Yeah, that'd probably be about 7 o'clock if it's turned all the way counterclockwise. Once you get at about 12 o'clock, if you're going clockwise, once you get about 12 o'clock, it darkens it up maybe just a little bit. And anything after that, the audio goes completely away. So it's interesting. I'm still going to play around with this, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, the 123B is not in Sam's PhotoFax. Excuse me, I have a factory schematic, and if you have a super-duper microscope, you might be able to read it, but I believe one of the T-berries, which is similar, is in Sam's, and the circuit for the tone, I believe, is 1 or 2 parts. I think one of them is either a ceramic or probably an electrolytic cap. And basically, if that goes bad, your tone doesn't change much, but generally speaking, hardly anybody uses that thing, so it's very rarely replaced. But that could be it. Sam's on the T-berries, see if I can find it, and then see if that's the circuit they're using. I know in the great in the when that circuit is working properly. I was thinking of experimenting with the Brownings to see if I could stick that in one just to see what it would do, but I haven't done that yet. Anyway, I'll check and I'll let you know. Anyway, Dennis is probably going, it's hot, it's after 10, and I'm tired.
No, actually, Dennis is going, this is the whole reason we are out here, so that I don't have to say a thing, and everyone out listening is learning some cool stuff about the radios that they have or might have. And Mike, Harvey's radio that he's on now is perfect for checking the tone control. It's got very sharp, crisp, high-frequency audio. So if your tone control function was working properly, you should be able to rotate that thing either counterclockwise or clockwise to the end position and really mellow him out. So if it's not doing that, then, like Harvey said, there may be some capacitor issue that's not allowing it to do what it's supposed to do. But he's got the perfect transmit audio where you would hear what that tone control is supposed to do. Yeah, a little bit weird because, yeah, you have to go back and readjust and put it in. But another remember, it's a feature, not a failure. So hopefully that explains things. You've got another feature on the radio you didn't know about, and probably another component part that you don't want to worry about placing, but you might have to.
Yeah, totally. The only thing I want to end with maybe is if the knob is pushed in all the way, I think the tone, at least by my standard, it sounds kind of normal. If you pull that squelch knob out, it definitely darkens it up, but there's very little variation in what goes on. I'm going to end with this because I know it's getting super late. I just, in my mind, Harvey, I'm trying to really decide if you knew, just from your memory, that underneath that squelch knob, it actually had the function printed on there. I'm trying to figure out if you had that button down by memory, or if you were actually looking at one. If you're out in your tough shed, I'd be willing to bet you probably looked at one, but I don't know. You're good, and I think it's not an impossibility that you already you pulled that out of your mind.
Well, I'm either really good or just too darn lazy to go look, and I made you do it.
All right. Guess what? One of our SWLs has looked. Stan, who's got the manual, says the manual says pull out for bass sound. So it sounds like it's I always get this backwards, a high-frequency roll-off or a low-pass filter. So it sounds like it's pull out for bass sound. Now, he doesn't say anything about pull out and rotate. So you mentioned when you rotated, it doesn't do much. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. You pull it out, and it definitely adds more bass. You spin it. Wide. Oh, my. Oh, hello. Am I still transmitting?
Yes, over.
All of the lights just went out.
There you go. Question answered. Okay, we're out.
All right, let me see. He said the lights went out. That might have been the big kahuna. Hello, Mike. Okay, yeah, it was good, and then you said the lights just went out and it faded away. All right.
I guess he pulled it too hard.
Yeah, listen in. Yeah, he's on the crossband, and it sounds like it was a last hurrah. I didn't like us talking about it so much. So if you get on the crossband, you might be able to find out what it did or didn't do. Any other stations? We'll go ahead and sign out here at 10:40 on Old Tube Radio Network.
Yeah, ask him if the radio shut down.
Are you radioactive on the crossband? Yeah, Mike's on the FM. Always a good backup when your AM goes away.
Well, I'm sorry, my voice is really dry. I'm back here. Boy, that sucker, that's dead. That's really sad what just happened.
Did he say the robin died?
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me. The 123B is dead. It died as I was watching it.
Does it smell smoky, or did it just go?
The lights started dimming. They would come back on. The lights started dimming. They'd come back on. did that about 2 or 3 or 4 times. Then every single lamp went out on it except the modulation lamp. It is not, the radio is turned off. I'm going to shut up. It's 10:42. I'll tell you about this after Dennis goes and has it over me. I'm sorry to extend the show so long.
All right, it's like the parrot. And the guy goes in to buy the parrot on the Monty Python, and he finds out the parrot is a non-parrot. We might have a non-radio. All right, well, maybe what I'll do, I'll sign out here, and I'll keep, if you're going to talk about it here, I may keep the audio stream going for anybody who is interested in that possible saga. So with that said, we head over to the other studio.
This is the Old Tube Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, stand by. It's time now for the current OTR totals.
The current final totals for the evening of January 2nd, 2018, the Old Tube Radio Network, where if we go to the SWLs, back so long ago when we did that, we had 10 check-ins on page 1, 14 on page 2, 13 on page 3, and 16 on page 4, for a total of 53. I don't think we added anybody. This is week 6. Next week, week 7 off the 8-week roster. I don't know what is squeaking. Oh, I think I got some bad fans. That's some squeaking things. So if all my lights go out, you'll know why. It's just going around. I hear something squeaking here, so I'll make my sign-off brief. But I may keep the audio, the old TubeRadio.net audio stream up for a little while so we can hear what's going on. Radios. Let's talk about the radios. That's what all that fanfare was about. We had, what did we do? We had 2 trams, we had 2 Brownings, we had 2 Hallicrafters, and then the Robins, of which we were talking about at the end. And you know, a radio, as long as it checks in and I get it on the paper, regardless of what happens to it ex post facto, is a check-in. It's not like if the radio dies, we have to eliminate it. So, I'm changing my white balance here. There we go. So we had 5 Robins tonight. Head and shoulders, and what did Mike call a landslide? I think we called it a landslide for the Robins tonight. Started off with the Tram Titan, radio number 1. Thank you, Cliff, for that. Radio number 2 was the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223 from Mr. Ed. Radio 3 was the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB from Jerry, SWL 25. Paul with the Robin T123. Paul's good at instigating, whether it's his general radio telephones or the Demcos or whatever. He's a good instigator trying to get the most heard manufacturer. It worked tonight, Paul. Jerry, SWL 25 on the Sonar Model G. The Tram TR27E, Radio 6 from Mr. Ed. Also Radio 7 from SWL 7, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. The Robin T240D from Paul for Radio 8. Jerry on his Hallicrafters CB3A for Radio 9. Chris on the General Radio Telephone Super MC11A for Radio 10. The Gemtronics GTX 5000 was Larry on Radio 11. Radio 12, Chris on the CB3A from Hallicrafters. Radio 13, the Robin T123 Bravo from Paul. Radio 14, the Robin T123 from Mike. Radio 15, the Pierce Simpson CDB5 from Harvey. Soon to be up on the hill. We'll be looking forward to that, Paul, hearing that one. Mike, SWL 47 on the Robin T123B, of which, is it live? Or will it only exist on our audio Memorex here? And Radio 17, capping things off, the Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68. This has been the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks to SearchLawrence.com and Frodex for keeping the Nixie tubes running. Thanks to all of you listening in with your comments and suggestions and helpful hints. See if we have any more with the surprise. Ray says a surprise ending. So like I said, I'll keep the audio stream up to see if we can find out any more about that surprise ending. Thanks to those of you tuning in, watching at Google YouTube, and we will say 73, everybody, until next time on your Old Tube Radio Network.
Good night. Good night.
Thanks, we're still doing here.
All right, frequency is clear. I'll leave the audio stream up for people who would like to listen in for a little bit, and we'll say bye-bye on the video. 73, everybody.
Hey, Mike, you still there?
Oh, yeah.
Count to 175 or give me 5 minutes and give me a phone call.
All right.